Hey loves, it's Tracy Porter. Today's video is a much requested video, and it is questions to ask before moving to a foreign country. I can't believe how many of you, of course, have asked that, and I know that it's coming from a lot of different places and from a lot of different ages, which I think is really, really cool. I mean, I moved to Paris, France when I was 18. And I lived there for a few years, and that was a great experience. You know, living in a foreign country is such a fantastic, eye-opening, perspective-giving experience. It's not for everyone. Absolutely not for everyone. But if you are an adventurous spirit and you have a little bit of wanderlust and you're open-minded, it could be something that would intrigue you. And depending on your age and your level of flexibility and a thousand other questions that I'm going to throw out at you and talk about, it might be perfect for you. You know, it just depends on where you are in your life. And it's happening, oh my gosh, like crazy right now. I mean, you can Google it yourself and find out, that people are really open to exploring right now for so many reasons, I think. But so these are some of the questions, and you are going to want to add your own to this list if it's something you're considering. I get, excuse me, many inquiries about this and lots of questions about how did we choose Nicaragua? Why? What are the, what do we like? What don't we like? So this is going to be a few videos, excuse me. And I thought this would be a good place to start, sort of the questions to ask before you decide to move to another country. So I had made a list of countries that, and really we looked at this point in our lives, we were looking at Central America for a number of reasons. We liked the proximity. We liked so much of what we had read about Central America in general. Cost of living was a big one for us. And so I had kind of a list of countries that I was exploring. It included Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Panama, Guatemala, Belize. I mean, I wanted to really explore all of them. And then, these are questions, that we had answers to, but they're things for you to consider. Why are you leaving? It's such a personal thing. Ours was, so personal. We wanted to keep more of what we were making. We looked at our finances and felt like, we're aging. We want to hang on to more of our dollars that we're earning. And, we're still residents in California. Even though we live here in Nicaragua, we still pay, American taxes. But we felt like where we were living, and again, it was a choice. It was our choice. We could have changed a lot of things there. I'm not saying that. California is an amazing place to live. Or we could have moved somewhere else in the United States too. But we just felt like, let's use this as an adventure. Let's show our kids that they can live in another place too. Because, as we have friends and relatives whose kids are graduating from college and having a hard time finding jobs and having to pay very high rents and, so on and so forth, you start looking at that kind of stuff and you start thinking, boy, we really want our kids to be open-minded about, where they can work and what they can do. And, they could live in a foreign country and have a laptop and work. They see how mobile we are, and we talk a lot with them about that idea. So, God, this could be a long video, so I gotta really try to zero in here. So don't mind me going back and forth to my nose. I can't keep it all in my head. So anyway, you gotta ask your question. Why are you leaving? And ours was many reasons, but it just felt right. Like, let's give our kids this amazing adventure and experience, something that they'll look back and say, wow, this changed my life, and hopefully in great ways. Can you support yourself where you're going? Maybe you're retiring. Well, that's a whole different thing. We're not retiring. We love what we do. We like working, and we need to make an income to support our family. So for us, it was, okay, we're super mobile, so we can work anywhere in the world. But if the question for you is, I need to, either I'm retiring, well, that's one thing, or I need to make a living there, then you've got to look into things like work permits, which are not always the easiest thing to get these days. So those are really good questions. Or if you can support yourself and you can work on your laptop and make your living wherever you are, that's a wonderful thing. And it's something that more and more and more people are trying to find a way to do because, in our case, I said to John, gosh, we sit here in our studio in the same place every single day and we're paying, all this money to live here. Why don't we go live somewhere that it costs us a fraction of this? And literally, I'm not kidding, we live in Nicaragua for a fraction of what we were living for in California. I mean, it's mind-boggling, quite frankly. And so we made the right choice, I feel like. So again, look into the visa situation. Is it fairly trouble-free? It just depends on the country. For us, it's pretty easy. Every 90 days, we leave Nicaragua, we go to the border, we go to Costa Rica, and get into the line, go on the other side, bump, 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 and you're back in. It's like, I think it took us like an hour and a half by the time, it's a half hour away. It was a pretty quick, pain-free thing. So that's something to think about. I remember when I lived in France, I would go to Germany or I would go to Switzerland or something like that, or maybe I had a job that I could, get, my visa paperwork and stuff. But it's something to think about. It might not be the hassle that you want to deal with because it is a real thing. You can get residency, of course, in some countries, not all countries, but you can in a lot of Central American countries, and it's getting easier and easier to do. Healthcare, that was a big one for us. What's the healthcare situation? And I'm going to do another video about what it's like specifically to live in Nicaragua. This is not that video, but that's an important question to ask. Of course, what is the healthcare situation? How close are you to it? What do you require? What is the cost of it? That was a big one to us. Our family of 6 in the United States, we were paying almost $30,000 a year for our health care. That's a lot of money. I've had a lot of people say that's not possible. I'm like, well, what do you do for a living? Or how are you paying for your health care and whatnot? And I work for the government and it's all covered. I'm like, well, my health care has never been covered. I'm self-employed, so that's what we pay. And it's a lot of money. So that's something to think about. The culture, are you interested in exploring another culture? Does it intrigue you? If you're not, I'm not sure moving to a foreign country is for you. You got to really think hard about that because, it just depends. And every country has a very specific culture. Living in France, of course, had its own culture and it was wonderful and amazing. And living here is a totally different culture. I love it. I love the Latino culture. It is so fun and inspiring to me and just cool and laid back. But, again, it's not for everybody. So that's something to really think about. One of the biggest questions, of course, is how open-minded are you? How patient are you? How flexible are you? Because things in other countries, depending on the country, might move faster or might be much slower. In Nicaragua, it's Nika time. So everything kind of moves at its own pace and you don't really get your feathers ruffled over when they say they're going to come and they don't come or that kind of thing. You just have to be really, really flexible and it's okay. It's very different in the States. You have this expectation of when things are going to happen and how they're going to happen and bump, 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 bump. That's how we function in the States. That's how I think of Americans and, our expectation. If the guy for DirecTV says he's going to be there at 10 o'clock, I need him there at 10 o'clock. I've got other things to do. It's not like that here at all. Are you adventurous? Are you willing to meet new people? Are you willing to put yourself in situations that allow you to meet new people? That was one of the big questions people asked us is like, how hard is it to meet people? Well, when you move to a foreign country like this, as an example, most of the people who have moved here, who are expats, are really open-minded people. They are up for an adventure too. So people are very eager to meet other people and we haven't found any problems meeting people. Friendly, lovely, open-minded, amazing stories, interesting. So it's not like, that's not a problem for us. Anywhere we go, we meet people. We love talking to people. We love hearing their stories. We're interested. We're curious. That's something to think about as well. Again, don't mind my notes. Do you want to speak a foreign language? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to try? John is for sure flying. He has a tutor every other day for 2 hours. So he's the first to jump into that, and then the boys and I are sort of next. But that's a question. Are you interested in that sort of thing? Housing. What's your situation? Do you want to rent? Do you want to buy? Do you want to, do you want to live in Airbnbs, which is a fantastic option, and lots of people float around the world just living in Airbnbs, and there's so many amazing options that are so reasonably priced. That's something to think about. Again, you can live anywhere in the world if you want to in that way. So that's something to think about, and that drew us into Nicaragua was the cost of real estate and the cost of building, that kind of thing. Again, I'll get to that in the other video. I always get ahead of myself. Things like luxuries are important to consider, and I've had a lot of people ask this question. How, are you able to live without little luxuries? I am. It's not a problem for me at all. Like this afternoon, I'm going to have John cut my hair. You can get your hair cut in town. There's like all kinds of salons and stuff like that. Pretty much anything you want is here. But, I haven't had my hair colored in 4 months, and I really don't care. It's just, it's a different thing here. But yes, you can get luxuries if you want them. Amazon Prime does not deliver here, as an example. That would freak a lot of people out. At first I was like, Amazon doesn't deliver, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. And things are changing. Like people are telling us who bought here 10 years ago, oh my God, 10 years ago it was such a different world. And then, things change. So if you're kind of hooked into your version of luxuries, whatever it is, I can get any cheese I want in 5 seconds at my market. And that's what I need life to be. Well, then this kind of thing is probably not for you. Or you might want to, move to France or Switzerland, or, that kind of thing. So it's, those kind of things to think about, like how willing are you to change those sorts of things, give up on things, I don't have a need for a lot of little piddly luxuries and things like that. I'm totally cool letting that kind of stuff go. What are the crime rates? That was a big one for us, for all kinds of reasons, having 4 kids and whatnot, and being adventurous. We wanted to know that we could take off and, check out the whole country without being nervous. So the crime rates here are very, very low. So that was really super appealing to us. Education, since we have children, that was also very big to us. Now, in our case, we homeschool our kids. We opened a private school via the state of California. And so that's how we school our kids. But, it's different. If you want your kids to go to a private school or you want your kids to go to a public school, you got to check that out in the country you're interested in exploring. And if you don't have kids, then you don't have to think about it. Cost of living. Like I said, that was a big one for us. So when I started researching, it was sort of, and again, we're not retiring, but one of my questions was people who retire tend to be sort of on a fixed income. So I thought, well, that's a great place to start because they're really looking for places to retire where they can, live on a certain amount of money. So, Nicaragua rates very high in that, one of the best places to live in the world if you have a fixed income or if you want a great lifestyle that doesn't cost you a lot. So that was a big, big factor for us. The weather is